Pixels and logics here, we are going to take a look at how to build a simple website using HTML, CSS without JavaScript. Here is the interface of how things looks like, and basically we are going to consider from the home page to the contact page, whereby we add functionalities to them. When clicking the links, it send you back to where you are approaching. Without further ado, let's just straight into the video. In the world of VS Code, what I'm going to do is that we create two separate files for index.html and styles, which controls the skeleton and the styles respectively. We go to new file, then create index.html, then do same for style.css. We will start by building the skeleton from scratch, and most of the code will be copy and paste since most of them has been shown already. Most of the images uses a link. We will be copying that link from other websites to use it in the code. Then let's generate the border template for HTML using the shift number one key, then press enter. With the title, let's change it to the title of my list, Mechy Kitchen. I like to link the CSS to it. Then let's begin. First, we start with the navigation. So we build a simple nav bar to control the navigation system of the website. So let's use a semantic style HTML, which is the nav. Then get a div and give it a class name of nav container. Let's use this for our logo. So I'll do something like this. Then pass in my same name for the feature, but I'll put it in a span tag to control an inline styling. So I'll do something like, then we can as well give a class to this for later styling. We see maybe group, then we group it. Right after the logo, we'll add our list to it. So use the URL to that, then list them. There are multiple ways that you can generate the list too, but I want to use this approach. Then specify the first one to have an ID, then say home. Then duplicate it 3 times, making it 4. Then we have to change the style to their respective or name to their respective. Then the second one be menu. Then the next one to be reservations. And it goes on like that. If I'm building a website, I would like to style them separately as we go. As I've done, let's style it. Now I would like to run it on the live server, so we position them side by side to see what's actually happening in the background. So I'll go live, then we have something like this. So let's position them side by side. With my style, I would like to give it a universal styling whereby I call off the default margin and the padding of the page. So I'll set the margin to 0. Then the padding to, and for proper styling whereby the margin and the padding calculations will be used for both height and the width, we set the box sizing to border box. Then The rest will be, I'll call the nav bar and give it a max width to control how it stretches on pages for responsive sakes. What I like to do is that I don't want to hard code the the CSS colors and other stuff. So I'll copy and paste my CSS variables that I use for the whole route. This is a CSS variable. Let's continue from there. I'll set the position of the nav bar to be fixed so that it remains unscrollable. Set the top to 0 and the styles follows like that. Then to use our CSS variable, once you specify maybe a color or a background color, you use the var, then you pass in the value that you want to use. So in this case, I'll say glass navbar background, like something like this. Then we set the z index to, that's control the back and the front aspect of the page. Then set it to something like higher, so let's say 10 for now. We set the padding for top and down, we set 1 rem, then left and right we set 0. Transition for smooth animation or smooth easing, we say for 2 seconds, then we say ease, so that we don't have a hash transfer. Then what I want to do next is call the body of the HTML, then hide any overflow to the X side, then we set it to heading. So on the X plane, nothing overflow, then the background color to pick the variable, then we have color, let me use the variable color, then we say background height. We set the line height property to control how text has been spaced and other stuff. So 1.6. The font family, I will go to Google font to get it. So we use this one. The name of the font is Mango. Then we pass the callback to be a sans serif if the text or the font fails to load. We will come to Google Fonts, then look for man group. Make sure you have internet connection if you want to download any font. So man group, we get here, then we go to get font, embed. You scroll down, we have two ways. Either you choose the import key for CSS or the link for HTML. So I'll get the link, then I'll go back to my code and paste it in my header section, something like this. See how now it's fixed correctly to our page. Yeah, that's what we want to achieve. For smooth behavior of our scroll, I'll call the HTML then give it scroll behavior to be smooth. We get the idea from here. The styling continues for the nav, so I'll call the class nav container. We already have it there, and also I'll start styling them. Then the max width of that should be 1200 pixels. Then we set the margin for the top and bottom. We set it to 0. Then left, right, we set it to 2 for center align when we are doing the proper testing. We go on with a display flex to align the text on a row section. So once we are done, let's check whether we are doing things correctly. So we have the nav container here. If you want to cross check, you can check them to see whether they are working perfectly. Using an justify alignment, we set it to space between to control the space along the elements in that nav container. We align them for both in the center like that. Then we proceed on by doing a padding. We add a space around only the left and the right. We give it like 2 rem for spaces around the left and the right, leaving the top and the bottom 0. Then let's target the logo. We have a class called logo. Give it a font size of around 1.2 rem. If it is less, let's say 1.8, something like that. Give it a font weight to be bold. Then the color, as I said, we are using CSS variables, so I'll just call the var. Then call the variable name color brand primary, something like this. Remove the text decoration, that's the underline, we set it to none. Then we add a transition to it, transition or then let's say 3 seconds is something like that. Let's control the hover state of it so that the user might know where he or she is. So we add the pseudo class hover or hover over it, then we set the color to be the same variable, but this time the deeper version of it. Color, brand, then we go to primary dark, something like that. Then when the user points or use the mouse on it, you change the cursor to be pointer. So something like that. Something like this. Pointer. Now it's working perfect. We go with the nav links, that's the one on the right hand side. We have a class called nav links. That is from our HTML, a class called nav links. We give it a style. Sorry. Let's remove the default style on the list, that's the cassette, to none. Then we add a display. We can use either inline flex or any of it to work properly, something like this, or flex itself will work. Let's give a gap of 2 rem, that's the space between the text. Then we target the links itself, the anchor tags itself. So let's call the nav links. Then we target the anchor self. Let's remove the text decoration from it. Let's set it to none. We set the color to be the variable. Then we have this color, the background filter, this one. Change it to that. You can also use text. Let's use the proper one because I've specified this here, text the dark. This one too is fine. Set the font weight to be 500 to control how bold it will be. And we set the transition to or then 0.3 seconds is cursor. Set it to pointer. Let's control the padding. We want to give it a box around it. So we set 8 pixels, then 16 pixels for 8 pixels for the top and bottom, then 16 pixels for the left and right. Let's give it a border radius to control the curve at the sides. Let's say 8 pixels, or let's give the left value like 4 pixels, something like this. Let's position up relative to, then we target the nav links again with the anchor tag on hover state. Let's give the style, say something like color, then we pass in the variable color, and this time around we use the brand color here. Then let's see, we give it a border of 2 pixels, so let me use 1 pixel solid. Then the color to, let's use the variable, then call the same color for the brand, something like this. So we get something like this when we hover over them. But for the previous one, we have an active, but I decided to remove it because you're not going to use the JavaScript on it, whereby if you click on one, it will move to the next. So we just declare on the active state. Right now, we are done with the navbar state. This is it. Now we go to the hero section. We return back to our HTML. Then at the last page of the navbar, let's give a comment and say hero section. Then we specify, use a semantic HTML section like this, and give it an ID of home. Then let's say class hero. Let's give a div or a class name of hero content. Inside the content, we're going to have H1, that is welcome to Mechy kitchen. Then we give it a paragraph. Now in the paragraph, we're going to control how the text will pop up. Let's say one text comes after the other. So inside the paragraph, we're going to use a span tag to control that. And with the first span tag, I'll give it a class called text option. Text option. I'll duplicate it 2 times, something like this. Then I'm going to copy the text for it. Here you have it, something like this. As I said, each page one style, each page one style. Let's go back to the style. And we are going to use their respective classes like hero, hero content, and so forth. Let's get it. I'll come here, give another comment, and say hero style. Then the first thing that we will start styling is the hero itself. I'll say dot hero if you want to call a class, and set the height. Now you're going to calculate, use the calculation or the cal value in the CSS. Now we're going to calculate the viewport height with some accurate values, and then the content to know where it's being positioned. So we say 100 of the viewport minus 40 pixels of that side, something like that. Then set the position to relative. That means it becomes a parent. Then we display flex, position them side by side. Now it's not working, but we have it, you see it in real time. You can see that most of the things has already popped out here. We will continue with align items center. You see that it will come down, something like that. Then we set the justify to be center. Sorry, center, something like that. We proceed. If there is an overflow, we hide it. Most of the times you can use a screw to get that. Then let's set the z appearance or the z index to a value like 2. Now I'm going to use a background image for the hue, and to use the URL, I'm going to get the link for the image, but I already have it here, so I'll copy it here, then come back here and paste it, something like this. So we have an image nicely blend, but you can see that the image is repeating itself just to fit the content, but we will handle that with CSS properties like background repeat and set it to no repeat. Then we have the background size, we set it to cover, so that take the original shape of the image, something like that. Then we position it center, we say background position, we set it to center, something like this. Let's control the margin of the image, set it to 20 pixels. And I will control the outside. So if we enlarge it, we can see that it controls the outside, something like that. Let's do away with it first. We'll come back to that styling later. Now, let's proceed to the content in the hero. We will call hero content. We have a class name that we set the text align to center. We use the z index property tool here and set it to something like 3. We set the max width to be 900 pixels. Let's control the padding for the left and right. So we set it to 2 rems, and margin top, we set it to something like 100 pixels. Let's control how it goes. Yeah. Let's get a text in the hero content. So hero content, then we call h1. Since in the hero content we have h1 here, which controls the welcome to the Mechy. We set the font size to about 5 rem, try it to be big a bit. We set the line height to reduce the space. We set it to 1. Then we push whatever comes at it down. So we use the margin button. Then we specify 1 rem for it. Push it down a bit. We go on and use animation for, so I'll give animation in fade in up. Later on we will start that. Let me give it a time which is only for a second. Then use ease. Then the next thing that we are going to do is change the color so that we can see it clear. First, let's use white so that we see what is there. But white too is hard to see. What you can do is that is either you add a text shadow to it, or let's use the brown color from the variable. So you see var, then we call the color brand, something like this. If it is hard to see, later on you work around it. Then I guess that we are get to do. Then let's go on to the hero for then control the paragraph. Font size to we give it 1.2 rem. We push whatever two comes down to 2 rems again. Let's control the color to let's use the variable. Whatever we feel like is not on the way, we'll correct them later. So let's say you use a color like this. But that one too is hard to see. Let's write any value. Let's use RGB and specify the values. 255, 200. That is for orange color, I think. Yeah, something like that. Let's set the position to be relative. We also add the same animation for animation that we use on top, which is the fade in up. Same behavior. Right now we haven't specified the animation yet, so nothing will come. Let's set the main height to control the height of this one to 3 rems. Then let's use display flex on it. Since there's a span in it that controls the text, how it pops each of them. I'm just positioning them side by side and we justify content to be center. Then we align them to be center so that it's perfectly aligned, something like that. Then let's use align height to control also the spread. We set it to 2, something like that. Then you see inside the paragraph you have a span call, then you give it a class name like text option. Let's call that. I'm going to use it to control how each of the text appears. So we set position to be absolute, such a way that it depicts the relative here as its parent. We set the width to be 100%. Then we align a text to center. Since we're using position, we can specify how we want the top to be and left to be. So top to be 0, left also 0, then right also 0. Let's reduce opacity so that we don't see anything like that. We will control that one with the animation. We give animation as test cycle, then we give it 10 seconds for each iterations. Ease in, then it should be infinite or infinite. White space to be normal, then the padding to control the top 0, the left to be 0, the right bottom part to be 0, then the left and right 2 pixels, 20 pixels of that. Now with each text option, let's call the env child on it. So let's target the first child, then give it animation delay of about 0 seconds. Then We get to the second child and give it animation delay of 4 seconds. Let's copy this one and paste it. Change the child to 3, then proceed to 8 seconds. We have 4 time seconds time frame between them. Let's start the animation. So I will say at keyframes, call the test cycle. Then at 0% as well as 100%, we will keep the opacity at 0. That's the starting point of it. Then we transform it to the and translate it to the x-axis, the y-axis 20 pixels. Therefore, you go ups. That's the cycling. See, yeah. Then as it comes, we want to scale it a bit. We pass a scale, then pass in 1 point. Let's see, 0.95. So it pops, then goes a bit, then goes off. Then at 8% as well as 25%, we set the opacity where it's now available to be seen to be. Now you can see that it starts showing on the page. Then we set the transform. Right now, since it will come and go at that state, we will set it to translate x to be, so translate y to be 0. Then we just scale it once. So 1, that's the 100 part. See how it comes. Then it goes off like that. Yeah. The next one, 2 follows. After that, we tweak around how each of them pops so that it will be smooth. Then at 33%, we will return back to this style. But this time around, we negate the y value for that. It pops like this way, you see. And this one too goes, and the next one follows like that. Yeah, something like that. Now we have a button that we need to start here. Let's call it. We have a name called. Let's give it a name called CTA. So a class, then CTA BTN. That's the call to action button. Let's call it CTA BTN. You give a background color. Bar, then we give it the brand color. This one, color. Then we say variable. Change the text color to color. I think we have. I don't know if I have text white, but I have white here. Let's control the spacing inside. As back for the top, we give it 1 rem. Same as for the button 2. Then the left and right, we give it 2 rem. Let's remove the border around it. So let's set it to none. Then let's say border radius for smooth curving. Let's give it 50% or 50 pixels for that. Let's remove text decoration from it. Set it to none. The cursor to, let's set it to pointer. For smooth transition, let's see, or and a pass 0.3 seconds is font size. Let's give it 1.1 rem. For the animation to we use the same fading app which will be specified later. But this time around, this one we have 1 seconds for ease, then 0.6 seconds, then we specify both, which will be specified later in our styling. Let's display, then give it an inline block, something like that. Let's control the hover state of it. We say CTA btn on hover. If you hover over it, if you hover over it, you should get something. We set the background color to be the variable, then we pick the brown deeper color of it, this one. In such case, we get this. Let's translate it a bit. To transform, then translate to the y -3 pixels. Therefore, it goes down. Then let's specify at keyframe. Now you're going to add animation for the fade in up. Then from we start at opacity to be 0. Then we transform translate to the y, the 30 pixels. Then we go to form, we go to 2, then we set opacity to be 1. Then we transform, translate y, then we set it to 0. We have something like that. So anytime that you are writing your code, make sure you check for spelling mistakes. Sometimes you might get that. Now everything is working. If we enlarge it, we can see we have something like this. So now everything is working. Let's go to the menu. For the menu part, it's a bit complex, but let's break it down. I'll go to the last part of it, add a comment there and say menu. So menu section. So here what I'll do is that most of the image I got the link from online. I'll copy that same thing from there, but for now I'll use ID and say menu. Create a div with the class name. So for now I'll give each student say our signature menu. Create a div and give it a name, menu grade. That means we are going to use grade to style it. Then inside that, we also create another class called menu items. This one. Then inside the menu items is where we have our image. Now with the source, as I said, I have them. So I'll go and copy the image with their text and everything, then we style them. Now they are here. We have the images here. Everything on point. Let's go to the styling and start styling them. I'll go here, then also comment and say menu style. Then we start with the grid part. I'll call the class name menu grid. Then we set display grid using a grid template column. I'll say the repeat. Then we use auto fit for quite responsive over there. Set my min max to 300 pixels and spread it or give it a unit of one fraction. Now we have something nice like this. But it seems clustered. Let's open them a bit, setting the gap to be 1 rem or more 1.5. This one will seem big for me. Let's go to 1.3. Mm, let's stick with 1.05, 09. Let's use the way like that. Yeah. We'll go away with that later. Then I will specify margin button to push each of them right after it down to 3 rems, something like that. Then we target the menu items. We set the background color, then we call our variable, then set it to this white here. We give it a padding of 2 rems. Border radius 15 pixel. Transition, we set it to all, then we give it a 0.3 seconds ease. We set cursor pointer, then position relative. We will tackle that one using a styling tool. Then we go over flow to be hidden if any of the elements start to surpass its container. Set flex to control the inwards. Then use change the direction to be column. Then we set the height to be 100%. We target the images part we set it to 100% to fill the container it is in, and the height, give it a height like 200 pixels. Set border radius to 10 pixels. Margin button 1.5 rem. Then, since we don't want to distort the image, we set it to cover to obtain its original size. Then transition, we scale 0.3 seconds is, then we specify that. So the scale automatically, if we hover over the image, we should get that. Say scale, then set it to 1.05. That's like if percentage wise like 1.5 times 100, then we get 1.15%, something of sort. So we get something scaling like this. Now we go to menu item, the contents inside them. Then we set the flex to be 1. Then display flex, then flex direction to be column, something like this. Now I want to add a styling whereby we hover this, we get some style, but I'll copy the code as I've written it already, then send it here. Then if you want to copy to get it. Now here is a code for the tested copy. We just add an hover state that controls the smooth animations here like this. So this is the code. We used it before pseudo element, then the contents and everything. Remember that we set the position to relative in the parent here, and everything fixed to this like that. So it wraps up to this place. Yeah. Now the rest is a styling for the buttons of these guides. Now we are done with the menu. Let's identify this. This is how it looks like using a grid element, something like this. Right. Now we're left to build our reservation. Then we have to go down to the section part. Then here too, we write section, give it an ID of reservation. Then we can continue with the rest. The reservation part controls the forms that the user will maybe put some values in and submit to us, and then for reservation and all stuff. And we give it a class. Let me give it a class called reservation. Then inside that, you're going to put things aside, side by side, using another class called reservation left. That will control the form. Then After that, we also add reservation rights that also control an image that maybe you will put by side with um the that one to be here. Reservation right. Let's fill in with the reservation left. It does a lot of things that we need to pass in there. We go there, then give an H2 called make a reservation. Then we get a form, give it a class name, reservation form. Here I'll fast forward it to fill the rest. We have it here. This is how it looks like. Now let's tackle the styling. The rest of the code will be pasted here and it will be made available. So then we have something like this. Now let's get to our footer section. This is the footer part and the style is here with media queries and accessibilities. So at the end, this is what we achieve from here. We get our home, our menu, our reservation, then the contact to our footer part here. Clicking on this link will take you to my GitHub page where the code will be made available there. So you can check them out. Thanks for watching and see you in the next video.